Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're tearing into the chilling 2014 thriller Annabelle. We are going to break down its really complex demonic lore, its relentless suspense, and the strict, terrifying rules that actually govern the supernatural within this specific universe. Honestly, if you've ever wondered how a seemingly harmless, inanimate object can orchestrate absolute chaos, well, you are in the exact right place.
Let's skip the fluff and hit the biggest question right out of the gate. What exactly turns an innocent child's toy into a literal magnet for a malevolent entity? It's such a fascinating look at the mechanics of horror because it doesn't just happen by accident. There is a precise, calculated sequence of events that invites this darkness in, and figuring out that sequence, that's the absolute key to understanding the entire film.
Section 1. The Bloody Home Invasion.
Okay, so picture this. The inciting incident completely shatters the sense of safety for expectant parents Mia and John. They're just getting back from church, totally unaware that their quiet little neighborhood is about to become ground zero for a supernatural tragedy. Let's track the sheer chaos of this brutal home invasion minute by minute. It starts late at night. Mia and John hear these terrifying screams coming from next door. John goes to investigate, and he comes back covered in blood that isn't his, yelling at Mia to call an ambulance. But before they can even process that horror, the danger is right inside their own bedroom. A man with a knife and a woman holding a vintage doll launch this vicious attack on Mia. John bravely fights the guy off just as the police arrive and shoot him. But the woman, cornered, realizing there is zero escape, she takes her own life. And this exact moment is where the true nightmare begins.
It all comes down to a single number, 1. One vital drop of blood from the dying cultist, whose name we later find out is Annabelle Higgins, falls directly into the eye of the vintage doll. And this isn't just some dramatic cinematic visual. It is the ultimate paranormal breadcrumb. That single drop of blood acts as a sinister conduit. It essentially seals a dark pact and permanently binds a demonic entity to our physical world.
Moving on to Section 2, the haunting begins.
So, following this horrific attack and the birth of their beautiful baby girl Leah, the couple tries to get back to normal. But Mia is left home alone on bed rest, and right here she faces a complete psychological break. We're not just dealing with, creaky floorboards and slamming doors. The anomalies stack up fast, and they completely defy all logic. An unplugged sewing machine suddenly whirs to life. The kitchen stove literally erupts in flames, nearly trapping a recovering Mia inside. She gets physically grabbed and violently dragged backward by an unseen force. She even spots terrifying apparitions of a child, one of whom chillingly hints that Mia is a bad person. Imagine the sheer isolation and terror of experiencing all of this while your spouse is away at work and you are completely unable to convince anyone that the danger is real.
Desperate to escape the trauma, they relocate to a totally new apartment in a different city. Clean slate, right? Well, as John unpacks a box, they make a chilling discovery. He tells Mia the exact words you'd hope to hear. "I threw it in the trash." And yet, there it is. The exact same blood-stained doll he dumped at their old house has somehow followed them. It really forces us to wonder, what would you do if your nightmare simply refused to be thrown away? The entity, they realize, isn't attached to the house, it's attached to the doll.
All right, Section 3, Uncovering the Cult. With the hauntings growing incredibly violent, Mia realizes she can't just run. She enlists the help of a detective, and later on, this super knowledgeable bookstore owner named Evelyn, to figure out exactly what they're up against. Through the detective, Mia learns about a group called the Disciples of the Ram. Guys, this wasn't just some random break-in at their old house. This was a highly targeted operation by an occult group practicing dark magic. Their explicit goal? To unleash a dark, unstoppable force through a blood sacrifice. The attackers weren't just murderers, they were summoners.
Which brings us to Section 4, the demon's true motive.
Soon, Mia is being tormented in her new apartment building. There's this absolutely terrifying sequence down in the basement elevators where supernatural scratches appear on her arm, only to just mysteriously vanish later. It becomes painfully clear to Mia and Evelyn that this isn't your standard restless human ghost story. It is a targeted demonic pursuit. Evelyn helps Mia piece together that the demon operates on strict, terrifying rules. It can't just forcibly rip a soul away. That's a huge rule in this universe. Step 1, it attaches to a physical conduit, like our creepy vintage doll. Step 2, it inflicts relentless psychological terror to wear down the victim's defenses. And Step 3, the ultimate goal. It has to manipulate an exhausted, desperate victim into freely and willingly offering up an innocent soul. The demon is essentially running a horrific psychological extortion campaign.
To combat this, they bring in Father Perez. He tries to take the cursed doll into the holy sanctuary of his church, hoping the sacred ground will weaken its dark power. But the demonic entity? It doesn't even wait. It violently intercepts him right at the threshold of the church. It physically assaults the priest, violently throwing him, severely injuring him, sending him to the hospital, and successfully reclaiming the doll. This really highlights the sheer overwhelming power of the entity. I mean, not even a priest standing at the very doors of a holy church can easily sever the demon's connection to its vessel.
Section 5. The Ultimate Sacrifice.
Back at the apartment, the suspense reaches a frantic crescendo. The demon bypasses all their defenses, locks John and Evelyn out of the apartment, and uses its power to hide baby Leah. The entity is finally making its horrifying demand. It wants a soul in exchange for the infant, presenting the ultimate life-or-death ultimatum. The tension right here is unbearable. The demon has manipulated the entire situation perfectly, leaving Mia isolated with an impossible choice. Who is going to pay the price?
Remember the golden rule: the transaction must be voluntary. A soul must be freely given. Mia is driven to absolute despair. She's willing to do literally anything to save her daughter, even ready to jump from the window with the doll, effectively offering her own life and soul to the demon. John finally breaks into the room, desperately trying to stop her. But in a shocking, incredibly emotional climax, it's her friend Evelyn who steps forward. Evelyn realizes she can balance the scales. Carrying the heavy weight of her own tragic past, she willingly sacrifices herself, leaping from the window with the doll to satisfy the demon's rules, saving Mia and baby Leah in the process.
Looking at the devastating aftermath of this demonic visitation, we see the true cost. Mia, John, and little Leah survive. Their family unit is intact, but they are forever scarred. Father Perez is left hospitalized, facing a very long recovery from his brutal encounter at the church doors. And Evelyn is tragically deceased, having given her own soul so that another mother wouldn't have to endure the pain she once did. It's a heroic end that resets the supernatural balance, sure, but the victory feels incredibly heavy.
But as you know, the rules of horror dictate that evil is rarely ever destroyed, it's usually just delayed. 6 months later, the missing doll, the very conduit of all this intense suffering, turns up at an antique shop completely intact, and we just watch as an unsuspecting older woman purchases it as a gift. So we close this explainer with a chilling final thought. The demonic vessel is still out there in the world, just waiting to begin its cycle of psychological terror all over again, which leaves us with one terrifying question. Whose shelf is that doll sitting on right now? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the darkness. Keep your eyes peeled and stay curious.